Hello, everybody. It's such a pleasure to be here. I have to say, this is the week of GDC, which, as Anthony said, it's the big week for all game developers. And so when Anthony mentioned that he wanted me to come here and talk today, I was a little worried about it. But when he told me about what a wonderful event you guys were setting up and all these incredible speakers, I couldn't say no. So big hand to Anthony and the rest of the team for setting this event up, please. So I'm here to talk about mobile games. I think the folks we just had on stage now talked a lot about, hardcore games, talked about PC games, talked about the type of games you hear a lot about in the news, but don't necessarily represent the majority of gamers. So what I want to do for just a few minutes is set the stage by talking to you guys about just a few details and facts about where gaming is going, and specifically how mobile gaming is affecting the gaming industry. And then I'm going to talk a little bit about the future of mobile gaming and where it's going. So we have the slides here. Okay, so I'm going to start with a quote from Netflix. Ultimately, we're all wrestling for consumer screen time. Even Netflix, you would think they're competing with HBO. In their latest earnings report, they talked about Fortnite being a bigger competitor because really it's about time, it's about interest, it's about engagement, and there is nothing more engaging from an entertainment perspective than gaming. If you look at just the number of hours that the typical gamer spends on a property, it's hundreds and hundreds of hours. The gentleman on stage just now, I think he mentioned 1,800 hours logged into Rust. 2,700 wins. We're talking about a crazy level of engagement here that you just don't see in other forms of media. If you watch a film, you spend a couple hours with it. I love TV. My favorite TV series, maybe I spend 20 hours with it in a given season. The fact that you can spend so long with a game franchise speaks to how engaging it is and how it's really commanding more and more of basically everybody's entertainment time. So the second piece to look at is the exponential growth in the number of gamers. And this really speaks to how people game and what we think of as video games. So in 1995, there were 100 million gamers, and the typical gamer was playing on a console in their basement or in their house with a couple friends. It tended to be a younger player, and it tended to be male. So that has completely changed over the last 20 years. And there are over 20 times the number of players now, 2.6 billion players. And the types of games they're playing are completely different. So many people who are gamers now and consume hours and hours of games every day would never even define themselves as a gamer. There are people playing Candy Crush or Words with Friends or Fortnite or any of these titles that aren't necessarily what you'd traditionally think of as a game on a console in your house. They're games that people play everywhere, and that's really because of this device. We all have a console in our pocket. It's accessible to everyone around the world in real time, and it's resulted in this explosion of what gaming is. And I think, frankly, there's still this conception that if you create video games or if you play video games, there's something nerdy and niche about it. And frankly, games are for everyone right now. And between that engagement and the number of players, we're really seeing that start to translate into dollars now. So when you look at the music industry, for instance, growing slowly, relatively small. You look at film, also growing slowly and moderately sized. TV is a big market, but we haven't really seen a lot of growth over the last 4 years. But if you look at gaming, it's had incredible growth, 11% growth in the last 4 years. So triple, quadruple what we're seeing in other industries. And by 2022, in the next 4 years, we're expecting it to be much larger than television. So again, what we're talking about here is not niche. It's not a fad. This is becoming very quickly the biggest sector in entertainment, and it's something that people often think about as sort of a niche activity that's not core to what a true entertainment experience is. So I want to talk a little bit about how casual games, which is what we focus on at Jam City, are quickly becoming core and are becoming something that are changing how we interact with entertainment day to day. So, the future of mobile gaming. The first thing I want to talk about is the commingling of real and virtual. So, what's important about this is games have become something where instead of having an entertainment experience in our device or in front of us, and we as viewers in front of it, sort of experiencing it and being separate from it, it's now becoming something where the virtual is being expressed in the real world, and the real world is being expressed in the virtual. So people talk oftentimes about the fourth wall in theater or in film or in TV, where you're either audience or you're entertainment. In this case, as a participant in this type of media, you're both audience and entertainment. And there's this gray area where real is becoming virtual and virtual is becoming real. Even the idea of having your real friends in a game, a lot of young people now communicate more with their friends in games than they do certainly face-to-face or even through texting or other communication. It's all about interacting with other people. It's all about the real and the virtual becoming one. This is one of the biggest things that's coming, and I feel like right now we've touched on it, and seeing AR, you see a little bit of it, and looking at leaderboards and clans in your games, you see a little bit of it. But I think for all of you who are trying to figure out where entertainment is going and how you can create the next entertainment experience, I think really figuring out how we can further blur the lines between virtual and real is going to be the real advancement in where video games go. The other wonderful thing about video games is you're able to have very deep stories where you can actually have meaningful choices. And I'll admit, even in our games, we create, I think, some of the best narrative games in the world. Our biggest game is Harry Potter Hogwarts Mystery. This is a picture of it on the screen. And do you know what? We're still in the first inning here. So our players absolutely love this game. It set records for the number of downloads. Our most popular games get as many as 500 million downloads. And I'll even be honest with myself and say there's a wonderful story here. It's an extension of the Potter franchise, but we can do better, and there's so much more we can do in storytelling. And the next 5-10 years in gaming, I think being able to let audiences have truly meaningful choices and opportunities to affect their story and feel like they're part of the story is going to make a real difference. One more thing I'll mention about this game is we created an avatar system unlike any other avatar system you've seen before in a game. And so it is very deep with all types of skin types, hair types, expressions. And so unlike a lot of games where there's very few choices, we've received literally hundreds of videos and testimonials of people who feel like they're actually, as an African American or as a Hispanic American or as someone in India who doesn't feel like they're represented in games, they can actually attend Hogwarts and feel like they're truly part of this. We feel like this is an evolution of storytelling, and it becomes more and more real if you take the extra effort to make everyone feel like they're included and they're part of the story. The last thing I want to talk a little bit about is the global nature of gaming. And to a certain extent, this is obvious, but it's really, in a huge way, changed everything we do every day. So more than half our studios are now outside of the US. And that's completely normal in the mobile gaming industry right now. So our users predominantly are outside of the US as well. Less than 50% of our players are here. And so I think there used to be this concept of we're making games for people around us, we're making games for people that look like us, we're making games for people that have had the exact same experience as us. And I think that's changing wildly. And so now we're able to interact and play with people around the world, having a competition with someone who's on the other side of the earth and being sort of personally connected to them, having a conversation with them, trying to beat them, or trying to work with them. Completely normal. We all take it for granted now, and this literally did not exist 10 years ago, and this is what's driving this ridiculous growth that we're seeing in the industry. So, in summary, I just wanted to have a few moments here to really communicate to you guys how much mobile gaming is changing, not just the video game industry, but gaming as a whole. And as all of you think about the industries you might choose in the future, where you want to invest your money, where you want to invest your time, this industry is evolving so quickly. The games that you will see in 5 years will be completely different than the games we see now. I think they'll follow these trends, but none of us know exactly where they will land. And I think we're all excited to be part of that, and I hope you guys will too. Thank you very much.